try to do it as often as possible, but not too. I have a job. I can't sit there for 2 hours and just donate blood every other day. That's what normal looks like. This is what not normal looks like. This was on a 15-year-old that we had come in our ER with a nosebleed, and he was feeling kind of tired and everything. Drew his blood just to kind of gauge what was going on. Looked under the slide, and this was going on. I think his white count was in the 70,000 range, and mine's 8 to 10. That's about normal. If you have an infection, like let's say you were playing sports and you got a cut and it got infected or whatever, your white count's going to go into the 15s, maybe 20 if it's a pretty bad infection. Surgeries that get infected will have a white count around 20, 25. 70, there's a problem going on. We've seen them up in the hundreds before with little kids, because it's just, think of these white cells as a bunch, like millions of 3-year-olds with machine guns. They have no direction, they have no idea what's going on, and they're just causing damage left and right. White cells have to mature to know what their job is. They leave the bone marrow, they come into the peripheral, and they have a specific job. If they leave the bone marrow too early, it is literally a bunch of little kids running around screaming and yelling and causing havoc. What we did with this kid is we sent them over to Children's, and then they got on with an oncologist and developed a treatment plan, and we're good to go. I recently had a friend I went to college with. His 5-year-old boy was diagnosed with leukemia, and they lived in Wyoming, and they went to Denver to the children's place. And as soon as they got his treatment, they did a spinal tap and they did a peripheral, and they just knocked him out with a whole bunch of drugs, and kid responded awesome. Some people do, some people don't. And the cocktails that they call them, the way that they progress a treatment, they say, this is what we've got, we're going to do these steps, and then we're going to see how they respond. That has become so recipe-driven. When you're baking something, you have to follow it in a certain way. Cooking, you can throw whatever you want in there. Baking, different story. I can't bake. My wife will attest to that. She'll let me cook. That's about it. This is spinal fluid on a 14-day-old little girl that we got. She was very lethargic. She was very limp. She wasn't fussy. She wasn't eating. She wasn't responding real well. The doctor decided that they were going to do a spinal tap. So they laid the baby on the side, poked her in her little back, and pulled out some fluid. When they sent it down, that fluid should have looked like this water. It looked like if I put red food coloring in it and shook it up really well. It was very cloudy. It was very discolored. We spun down the sample so that way I could get a little button, and I put it on the slide, and this is what I found. And if you guys can see right here, there's a white cell. You see the red cell that's inside of it? The white blood cells are actually eating the red cells in this picture. Red cells are supposed to kind of be there on newborns because their spinal column is permeable. It can kind of float back and forth. It's okay. And this tells me that they were there first. The infection happened afterwards. What happened is that the white cells think that those red cells are foreign, and they're starting to eat them up. So that was our key, that this was some meningitis that was going on. Well, the sheer number was that clue. But it ended up being Neisseria meningitis that they had growing in there. And took them over to Children's, did the treatment, and kicked butt. Drew blood cultures on this baby, which is like a little glass bottle that's got a broth inside of it, and then you try to grow the same thing out of it. And we did, and they got the treatment for him. So, websites, I can give this to you afterwards, so that way these guys can have these. These are the different accrediting agencies with our lab. This one right here, whatsmynext.org, is a great site. I don't know if you guys want to write that down, check it out later or something. It will give you a very comprehensive look at all of the different departments that I talked about with you today. It'll tell you salaries. It even has the, which one is it? I think it's this one here, the accrediting agency. This will tell you all of the schools in America that actually will let you go to medtech school and get you the degree that you want, and then they'll actually talk to you about what loan forgiveness programs there could be and how to contact people. I mean, the laboratory wants the contact. We want to be able to talk with you guys. We want to be able to get you in there and find out the questions that you might have. We can cover the basic, 30 things that we think matter, but there might be something that comes up that you guys will make a difference in how we develop what we want to talk about in the future. And this one, Explore Healthcare Careers, they'll talk about any kind of healthcare career, and a lot of it goes back to lab. How you collaborate with the laboratory personnel. You guys have any questions for me, just fire away. I think that's the end of this.